Hey, it's Carmina. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend and you're ready to attack this week with everything you've got. As always, thank you for being here, for spending time with me. Whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, I would love for you to say hi in the comments and just let me know where you're tuning in from. It's always fun to see where you guys are from. Now, I know this might have taken you by surprise. I'm doing it at a different time today only because I have an appointment right after this, but don't worry, on Wednesday I go back to my usual time. But so today's kind of different. So today we're going to talk about diets and why they don't work, right? Today is about cracking the code on dieting because let's be honest, there are so many of them around, right? Why are there so many diet books and diets that come out every year? There's something new, right? Why do so many people fail at them? Is it because they lack self-control? Is it because they don't have the willpower? Or is it that they're choosing the wrong diet? Well, studies have shown that 95% of diets don't work. So I think you would agree with me that with my sentiment about the fact that diets simply don't work. So what are we going to cover today? In today's session, you're going to discover why dieting creates fat and promoting biological responses in your body, right? We're going to discuss why counting calories doesn't work and what to do instead. And we're also going to talk about what you should focus on instead of the number on the scale. Now, before we get the show on the road, I always ask you to do me a huge favor, and that is to share this video if you think that other people might find it of interest. When you share on social networks, this is a currency, right? This is a currency that is priceless because otherwise, us as marketers, educators, we have to purchase those likes. So the fact that you are sharing means a tremendous deal to us because you're helping us spread our message. So if you wouldn't mind simply clicking on the link that shows below the video, I'm going to do the same thing as I'm speaking to you so that I can share it with some of my peeps that may not be on this particular channel. So let me do that really quickly. Find the video, and there it is. There goes the share button. And I'm sharing it with our friends at Walk It Off. Walk It Off is our private Facebook group. So if you don't know about it, I invite you to check it out. So I'm just sharing it with them. Here you go, and voila, done. Easy, right? So I hope you take a minute to do that. And while you're doing this, I want to introduce myself in case we have not met yet. So my name is Carmina Mevs. I am a certified health coach, and in my private health practice, I work with working moms who are struggling with their weight, and I help them ease their way into their happy size so that they can show up in their professional and their personal lives with confidence, with focus, and with clarity. And the way I do that is by taking them through my 5-step Slim Down with Ease plan that allows them to lose the weight, especially around the belly area, so that they can finally feel comfortable in their skin without dieting, without depriving themselves, and without doing punishing exercises. So, as we get started, and again, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, I'd love for you to answer a quick question for me. You ready? All right, so how many diets would you say you've been on? How many diets have you tried in the past? So if you would just write a number in the comments. Again, no judgment, just curiosity. Because if you're anything like me, you've been on at least half a dozen diets, right? If I think back, I'll say I did Slim Fast, at least a couple of other shake diets. I've done Weight Watchers twice. I've done Jenny Craig. I even done that one was crazy. I done one, and I don't remember for back in the day. There was this powder that you were supposed to shake on your food, and then supposedly the smell would curb your appetite. And anyway, that was a diet, and I even tried that one. So definitely zero judgment here. So really just curiosity. And the reason I'm asking is to give you a sense of comfort that you are not alone. You are not the only one who has tried at different diets and not gotten the results that you were looking for. Okay, and that's the goal of today's session, is to crack the code on why diets don't work. Okay, to finally understand why is it that despite willpower, despite all the science and all the studies that say that this diet works for X, Y, and Z person, it doesn't work for you. Well, there's a reason, and that's why I want to talk about today. Obviously, there is much more that I could say about the topic than 15 minutes. So if following this session you have questions, feel free to ping me, and be sure to stay till the end, because then I'll show you a way where you can get more information. All right? So here's the bottom line, you guys. Restrictive diets have set us up for failure, okay? And as a society, we have fallen victim to that diet mentality, right? And we end up blaming ourselves when they don't work. But the truth is, any restrictive diet is bound to fail, right? Because when we deprive our body of the nutrition that it needs, it keeps track of it. And once we're off the so-called diet, right, our craving is going to come back tenfold, and our willpower is not going to be anywhere nearly enough to really overcome those cravings, right? So, and not only that, we're actually hurting our health long run when we engage, when we indulge, although indulge is not quite the right word here, in dieting strategies, okay? So the first reason why diets don't work is because at their core, they promote they promote biological responses that promote gain weight, right? So the harder you try to reach your dieting goal, the harder your body is going to fight you back on this. Because think about this. The goal of losing weight is really a threat to your body, right? Because you are taking resources away from it. So what happens when you go on a diet is that your metabolism slows down to the point that you can actually get fatter eating less calories, okay? And the other effect of a diet is that it makes you even more hungry than you were before you started the diet, okay? So if you can think about it, the very act of going on a diet creates an equal opposing force to it, right? Because when you combine the increase in appetite and the decrease in metabolism, you essentially create the perfect storm, right, for massive failure. So at the core, diets are about depriving yourself, right? And I don't care how many books on diets you read, essentially the diets are the same. They just remove one macronutrient from what you're supposed to eat. They either tell you to restrict fat, to restrict protein, or to restrict carb, into varying degrees, right? So that's essentially what diets are. Okay? So when you're depriving your body is going to respond with fight or flight syndrome. Okay? So what happens when you stop or you restrict the intake of certain foods, your body is going to send signals to your brain saying, wait a second, something is wrong here. Like, I am in trouble, send help. Okay? And what ends up happening between that combination of your increase in appetite and decrease in metabolism, it creates what psychologists call the boomerang effect. So that when you're done with the so-called diet, you end up gaining more weight than you had to begin with. And that's why I like to say, like, the fastest way to gain weight is to go on a diet. So let me explain. Studies have shown that in your brain, when you go on a diet, it will increase your appetite, right? And decrease your metabolism. Now, why does that happen? It happens because your DNA has a long memory. It remembers the days back when, the cavemen, the cave women didn't find food so easily. And so it created a mechanism within your body to make sure that you would survive in such times, right? And so that explains why when you are on a diet, depriving yourself, your body, your brain does not distinguish between the fact that either you're restricting, you're restricting yourself from eating, not because food is not available, but because you're applying restraint. So, right? So it sees you depriving yourself as a crisis, right? In your brain, even though you're not thinking it consciously, but remember your DNA has a long memory, it's thinking there is no food. And because there is no food, I'm going to decrease the metabolism of the body so that it can conserve as much energy as possible. And I'm going to increase the appetite, right? The cravings, so that the human is motivated to go out and look for food. Okay, is that starting to make sense? Okay, so your body is doing what it's supposed to do, right? Your body is not against you when you see yourself getting on a diet and not getting results. Your body is actually acting exactly as it's supposed to act in order to protect you from harm. All right? So, how do you lose weight without going on a diet? Well, the first thing is that you have to stop triggering those fat promoting biological responses in your body. And the way you do that is by focusing on something other than weight loss. So I know we've all been there. It's hard not to focus on the number of pounds that you want to lose, right? But I promise you, if you could shift that focus just a little to not look at you're going on a diet as a way to lose weight, but as a way to promote your health, to promote well-being, I promise you, your body is going to respond by relaxing, right? By not triggering that fight and flight syndrome, right? And allowing you to enjoy the food that you're eating without holding on to the calories because it doesn't know when the next meal is going to come from. Does that make sense? Okay. So my wish for you is that you embrace well-being, that you embrace the abundance of food that you can eat, and get to a point where you enjoy eating the healthy foods, right? As opposed to it being an exercise in willpower, right? Because that is the goal. The goal is not for you to lose 10 pounds. The goal is for you to get healthy. The goal is for you to have more energy, to be able to enjoy more of life, not less of it. All right? So, I'm hoping that I've convinced you to never diet again. Okay? Instead, we're going to focus on being healthy and achieving a greater sense of well-being. All right? Now, let's talk about those pesky calories. Now, I am not a fan of counting calories because, well, granted, some people are comfortable doing that, and that's fine. But I find that when you focus on counting calories, what you're not focusing on is the quality of the food that you're eating. So, so again, it's the same diet mentality, right? Where you're counting the numbers, right? And not focusing on whether your body is feeling nourished, right? With the food that you're eating. I remember years ago, before I was ever introduced to the health coaching world, I was on a Weight Watchers diet. It was right before I got married, so I wanted to fit in that perfect wedding dress, and I got on Weight Watchers. And if you know anything about Weight Watchers, the way the system revolves around points. So each food has a certain number of points associated with it. And as you progress through the program, you are allowed to eat a certain number of points per day. Well, I got to a point where I would eat my points in candy. Because if you know me, you know I'm a big candy person. I love my sweets, and a world where I cannot eat sweets is not worth living in, okay? So anyway, I got to the point, because the focus of the program was so much about the points, where I was, focusing my attention on how many points I was getting every day, as opposed to focusing on the quality of the food I was eating. And this is why, to this day, I am not a big fan of counting calories. What I think is a much better idea is keeping a food journal, so that you become acquainted, right? First of all, you start tracking things like how many fruits and vegetables you're eating per day, whether you're getting enough carb or enough protein in your diet, whether you are eating the adequate amount of healthy fat. These are the things that you want to track, not the number of calories, right? And then the other good thing about a food journal is that you start paying attention to how food makes you feel, right? Because some foods, whether they're healthy or not, are going to have a certain reaction, or at least your body is going to react certain way to certain foods. So foods that may be deemed healthy for other people are not necessarily healthy for you. And the way you're going to know that is not so much that you have an allergic reaction to it, sometimes you will, but most of the time is simply that you're sensitive to them, right? So food like gluten, dairy, corn, sugar, caffeine, all those things, when you are sensitive to certain foods, it doesn't give you an allergic reaction, but it causes inflammation in your body. And inflammation is one of the main causes why people have a hard time losing weight, okay? So by keeping a food journal and kind of watching and paying attention to how your body is reacting to them, you'll be able to pinpoint that this food works for me. I feel energized. I feel, my head is clear. Like, I feel good when I eat certain foods. Whereas when I eat other foods, for you it might be soy. When I eat soy, my brain kind of feels foggy. My stomach kind of starts acting weird, right? And overall, I'm just not feeling 100%, right? And so these are the kind of things that you start noticing when you keep a food journal. So that would be my advice, is that instead of tracking calories, keep a food journal. Now you can do it with pen and paper, obviously. There is an app that I particularly like. It's called Noom, Noom. So there you go, free advertising for you, Noom guys. Um, it's it's interesting in the sense that it encourages when you track your food, it doesn't really care about the calories, but it classifies each food with a red, green, or yellow color. So that lets you know, and it lets you know like what's the ratio, right, of red, green, and yellow that you should have throughout the day. So I really like it. I find that it takes the focus away from the calories and focus and help you focus on what really matters, which is the quality of what you're eating. Now, the last thing I want to touch upon is what to track, right? If we're, because my advice to you is don't worry so much about the weight loss. Worry more about, your health, and worry about well-being, and let the weight loss be the result, right, of those health strategies that you're implementing to, to feel well, right? So I think that our biggest enemy is sometimes the scale, okay? Because we are so conditioned about thinking about ourselves, in terms of the number on that scale, right? So if we step on the scale in the morning and it shows us a number that we are content with, then it gives us we're happy. If we see a number that we're not so happy with, then it kind of ruins the day. And I want to tell you that the number on the scale is just a number. It's just giving you information about where you are right now. Okay? That's all it is. It's not a judgment on who you are. It's not I don't know even how to qualify it. It's not a bad thing. It's just information, right? As if you're going down the highway, the speedometer on your car dashboard will let you know, okay, you're going pretty fast, or you're going slow. That's it. It's just a number, right? So for me, I would encourage you to put away the scale, right? If you're studying a new program, of course it makes sense to have an idea of where you're starting from, right? But once you know that, store that information somewhere and then go back to it, 1, 2 months later to kind of see if in general you're heading in the right direction. That's it. But not on a daily basis, because I think all it does is just discourage you, right? And I've done the experiment where I think it was a month or so, I weighed myself every single day. Every single day, there was a different number on the scale. Sometimes it went up, sometimes it went down. And from that experiment, I became convinced that the scale is not the best measure of your progress. What I think makes more sense to measure are your measurements, your body measurements, right? When you put on clothes and they feel, looser on you, or they fit really well, that to me is much more rewarding than a number on a scale. So if you're going to take my advice and you're going to measure your body, I would suggest measuring your chest, right? You want to do it across the nipple line, measuring your waist. You want to do it above the belly button at the smallest part of your waist. Might be also useful to measure your hips. So you want to have your legs together and measure it at the widest part of your buttocks. And then your thighs, same thing, legs together, and you want to measure it at the widest part of your thighs. Okay? You can also measure your arm. Just make sure that it's relaxed at your side when you do the measurements. Okay? So measuring things like that is, in my opinion, more motivating than watching a number on a scale go up and down. That's just my idea. All right. So beyond everything, right? I want you to remember that you are amazing just the way you are. Okay? There is not a thing about you that you need to change in order to be deserving of love, of admiration, of wearing clothes that you feel good in, of going out and having fun with friends. Okay? I found in my journey that being able to put on that attitude that Carmina at any size is worthy of all the goodness that's coming to her was super helpful in helping me get to my goals before it showed on the scale. Because first and foremost, this is a mindset game. See, if you can in your mind picture and feel that confidence, right, at the size that you're at, even when you reach that size, you're still not going to feel good enough. So that's why when I work with my clients, a lot of the work we do is helping them appreciate, right, who they are, enjoying the journey, because it's not just when you get to that number that you reach your destination. No, the goal is that it's a lifelong pursuit. It's a lifelong endeavor, not in the way that is painful, but in a way that is enjoyable. Okay? So if you'd like to get my free guide on how to lose weight when nothing else is working, leave me a comment below or send me a private message and I will send it your way. So as we wrap up today, I would love to hear from you. Again, whether you're watching live or you're catching the replay, I would love to hear from you. What will you focus on instead of watching the scale like a hawk? Okay? What is the one thing that you'll focus on in your journey to wellness and well-being all together? So I'm looking forward to reading your comments later on. And as always, thank you so much for being here and spending time with me today. Whether you watch it live or you're catching the replay, I appreciate you and I'm inspired by your ability to show up for yourself. And like I said, if you have any questions about what we discussed today, and if you'd like a copy of my free guide, How to Lose Weight When Nothing Else is Working, please leave me a comment below or send me a private message. And as always, remember, you're only one healthy habit away from your happy size. So keep going. You're heading in the right direction. Have a great night, and I will see you on Wednesday at our usual time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.